this is Elwyn Robertson, author of The Easy Exhaustion Cure, founder of the Health Mastery Coaching Program, and creator of this Double My Energy training course. So, I just want to recap the last video first in case you missed it. What we talked about is the common myths that get in the way of us making progress, probably most importantly of all, the idea that you can't do it. And we talked about a way of getting through that by realizing that whatever adversity and struggle and challenge you've got going on right now, you can just see it as the middle part, the second act of your story, and create a story where you overcome that, and you can envision and you can imagine exactly what it's like to get to the ideal level, to get to the life of your dreams. Like I know it's possible, like myself and many of my friends and colleagues do live. So I know it's possible, and I know it's possible for you too. What we also did is looked at some of the most common practical myths that get in the way of getting to that optimal level of energy. I explained the different types of energy. We've got our everyday energy, we've got our reserve energy, and why they become low. And I also talked about the 7 pillars of doubling your energy, which you need to have some grasp of all of them to guarantee a result, although progress in any area is likely to get you a result. And today what we're going to do is we're going to look at destroying some of the biggest lies, right? The biggest myths. Now this might be a bit controversial, but I really feel like the only thing that stopped you from already working all this stuff out for yourself, right? The only thing that stopped you from already getting to that optimal level is that you have kind of this nonsense that unfortunately you've been sold. And I know exactly what it's like. I mean, throughout most of my life, I really struggled with energy too. You know, I really had very low energy, but more than that, probably I really high stress, really high anxiety. I would kind of just hide from the world, hide from people, hide from life. I never tried to put myself out there. I never tried to make the world a better place. As a child, I was very reclusive and very withdrawn. As a teenager, I discovered drugs, and they helped me to be a little bit more open and put myself out there, but only for as long as the drug lasted, and then I was back in my shell again. And throughout most of my 20s, I was pretty much that way as well. And I just didn't believe there was any alternative to drugs, you know. I didn't believe that there was any alternatives to stimulants. And stimulants are one of those big lies where energy is concerned, but we'll cover that in a bit. So really, those lies that we have about what's possible, and those lies we have about the solutions, because we believe, oh, if I just, you know, if I just had a holiday, if I just managed to get a bit more sleep, you know, if I just didn't have all these people stressing me out, then everything would be okay. You know, tell me if you relate, right? It's such a common thing. All these things really get in our way. So in this video, that's what we're going to specifically be focused on, dedicated to, is looking at some of those myths, some of those lies that we hear all the time, that we tell ourselves, which really block us from making progress. Now, one of the biggest ones we hear is this idea that it's not possible. And I just want to share with you, you know, in a bit more detail again, just how much I've found that that's actually not true. You know, no matter where you are. I've had clients as young as in their 20s and as old as in their 70s, okay? And what I'm going to tell you is this: it has nothing to do with age. I've also had clients who pretty much are independently wealthy and who have nothing to do, to, you know, mothers or grandmothers who have all these people, dependents, you know, who are working long hours, and anything in between. And again, it doesn't really matter, you know. It's not the outside circumstances that really make the difference. What makes a difference more than anything is our attitude to them, and the approaches that we take, like using strategies that actually work. So when clients come to me and they have an attitude, or I can help them to have an attitude which leads to success, and then they follow the strategies I give them, I found that no matter where they started, you know, no matter how depressed you might be, or anxious, or no matter how overworked you might be, or no matter how depleted you might be, or no matter how busy you might be, or whatever it is, if you have the right attitude and you take on the strategies that I share with you, results are amazing. And, you know, over this course of time, in the relatively short amount of time that I've really been dedicated to helping people, it's only been like about 3 years, you know, my success has been, in terms of being able to help people, has been really rapid. And that's really not because there's anything special about me at all, you know. As I said, throughout most of my childhood, I was, you know, fairly sickly, fairly unhealthy, fairly withdrawn, very low energy. and you know, nothing really changed up until my 20s. So it's nothing to do with me. It's not like I was special or anything like that, but I found these key distinctions, you know, through good luck or whatever, or determination or whatever it might be. I found that there are key distinctions, there are key strategies, there are key ways of looking at life, and then key things to do which make an incredible amount of difference. And the most amazing thing that I found is I never decided to put myself out there. I just started getting results. And I was a chef at the time. I was working as a chef, and I decided I'd start making healthier food. And what happened is that people would keep coming up to me and asking me questions all the time. Asking me questions about health, asking me questions about energy, asking me questions about nutrition and this problem and that problem. And eventually I just decided, well, people seem to like my answers a lot more than they like my food. Not that they particularly dislike my food, but yeah. You know, I was a lot better at helping people with the stuff that I've learned. And when I started doing that full time, I realised that it can be incredibly powerful. You know, I've worked with people who are, you know, very successful in their field. I've even worked with many people who are health experts themselves. You know, many well-known people in the raw food world, because that's where I started. People like Shazzy, people like Simon Malgalis, Philip McCluskey, people like Tara Warner, loads of other people who I can't mention because they prefer to stay anonymous. Many of them as well have brought their parents or siblings to me. You know, basically I've kind of got the reputation now as the man that people come to when they are struggling and they've tried everything else and nothing else has worked. You know, that's me. I'm the one who takes on all the difficult cases. And I get results, you know, I help people, and often they are amazed at just how simple the things I say. It's not like I tell them to do something incredibly complicated and difficult. I actually show you what's easy, and all the basic things, and all the fundamental things, all the obvious things, and they're the stuff that really makes a difference, because the truth is, success is never a result of a magic bullet, you know. It's never a result of one supplement, one herb, one diet, you know. It's a result of compounding. It's a result of slowly doing the right thing, the thing that serves you, day in, day out, and slowly, or quite often rapidly, getting incredible results. Now, of course, there are things you can do to make you feel good immediately too, and when you combine the things that make you feel good immediately and working towards those long-term results, that's when you get, you know, incredible levels of transformation. That's when you get people like I have who before could barely move to then being able to, barely walk out of the house, to then being able to climb up the highest mountain in the UK, you know. I get people who are so listless and depressed and low in energy that they don't even have the energy to look after their baby, to people who are going out there campaigning, pioneering, you know, writing a book, working full-time to help other mothers who are in the position that they were in. You know, I have people who have been struggling all their life with serious debilitating conditions that they had all kinds of fancy medical names for, that ultimately, when they apply these simple, universal, fundamental things to their life, just absolutely transform, and they're able to start living, they're able to start loving, they're able to start sharing, they're able to start doing whatever it is that they're here to do, and the same is absolutely possible for you. Now, one of the biggest myths that I hear all the time is the idea of where we get energy from. So where do you get energy from? Okay, I'll give you a minute to think about that. Now, if you're like most people, your answer was either from a coffee or a cigarette or some kind of stimulant, or it was from food. Okay? Now, both of these aren't true, and I'm going to go through one at a time. First of all, with the stimulants, let's just look at the coffee, the humble coffee, the innocent coffee, the coffee that almost everyone in the Western world drinks. The substance that even when we're in an economic depression, coffee places are just sprouting and proliferating and making more and more money, and it's like the only thing that's guaranteed to be you know, profitable and successful, it seems, to set up yet another coffee shop. You know, coffee. And I'm not picking on coffee, right? All the other stimulants are the same, whether we're talking about anything else containing caffeine like Coke, Coca-Cola, or whether we're talking about cigarettes or alcohol or any of the illegal drugs or any of the legal stimulants. They're all basically stimulants, right? But let's just look at the coffee. I remember I used to drink 10 cups of coffee a day, quite a lot. I used to work in an Italian restaurant, so it was easy to just take one every hour or so, every time I needed another little boost. And I remember I used to think that coffee gave me energy, and then in some nebulous way it was also bad for me. But I never, I heard maybe it's dehydrating or it stopped me absorbing minerals or something, but it, didn't, who cares, right? It gets me through the day, it makes me feel good, great. What I didn't understand, and what most people who I speak to don't understand, even people who are like experts in the health field or have been into all this for years, is what coffee or any other stimulant does. Why is it a stimulant? The reason it stimulates you, the reason it appears to energize you, is because it's a poison. Now, what do I mean by this? Yes, okay, it's true. Also, some herbs which are healthier poisons, occasionally, and the difference between a poison and a medicine is often dose. So yes, I know those objections, but at least a coffee in the dosages that we are having commonly every day in the Western world, it is a poison. And what it does is it comes in, it poisons you, and then as a result of you poisoning yourself, your adrenal glands go into action. They get stressed, they get shocked, and you release adrenaline, which makes you feel all hyper and clear, and it releases noradrenaline, which keeps you focused, and it releases dopamine, which makes you feel good, makes you feel rewarded, and it releases sugar from storage in the liver and in the muscles in the form of glycogen, releases that into the bloodstream, and then you feel, energy, so you feel energized and you feel clear and you feel good and you feel focused and you feel awesome, right? So coffee gives you energy, excellent, except for the energy is really coming from the fact that you've poisoned yourself. And as soon as your body manages to get the poison out, you then feel worse than you did before, because now, you've just been through the experience of poisoning and then you've been poisoned, so you feel worse, right? So what do? If you're like me, the way I was most of my life, you have another coffee, and then, But the problem is this is kind of like a downward cycle. So if you start with okay, you go up, and better than okay, and then just a bit worse than okay, and then you go up to okay, and then you're definitely worse, and it's like a downward spiral, okay, and then eventually in sleep, crashing out. So that's the stimulant trap. So what I want you to understand is stimulants do not give you energy. The idea that stimulants give you energy is one of the biggest myths out there when it comes to energy. Now, the other biggest myth that almost everyone who's even aware about health gets into is this idea that so stimulants are false energy, but we get energy from food, right? Calories, calories, food. No. Okay, yes, calories are to some degree energy, but energy, like what I talked about as called everyday energy, in the scientific world, in biology, this is referred to as ATP, adenosine triphosphate. You don't need to know what that means. Basically, it is energy. It's actual energy. Calories aren't energy, ATP is energy. And how do we make ATP? Well, we need loads and loads and loads of stuff going on, but on the basic bottom line level, the most important factor for having ATP is not food. In fact, people can fast for months and they can be just fine. Not necessarily always just fine, but certainly for weeks, most people can feel great. Some people, they fast for months. I know people who have fasted for months and been just fine. I myself have fasted for weeks and been just fine. So if food is the source of energy, how is that possible? Well, there's something else which is a lot more primary and a lot more important for energy. Can you think of what it is? Well, I'll give you a clue. How long can you go without food? Months, right? How long can you go without water? A few days, right? Maybe a week at the very most. I don't know if anyone's ever managed that. You thought I was going to say water, didn't you? But how long can you go without oxygen? Minutes, right? A few minutes at the most. Oxygen is really where we get our energy from. Oxygen, the air we breathe. This is our most fundamental source of energy. And yet, when we run out of energy, what do we think of? Oh, I better get some fresh air. I better use my lungs. I better oxygenate myself. No, no, we reach for a coffee, or we reach for something to eat, or maybe we crash out. Amazing, right? So one of the biggest myths we have is that stimulants or foods are the source of energy, when really it's air, really it's oxygen. Another huge myth that we have is that stress is something that comes from the outside. Now this is a kind of victim mentality thing that again I completely relate to. Most of my life I was, oh God, I can't do that, this stresses me, that's going to cause me stress. No, stop it, you're stressing me, you know. Oh, I couldn't possibly do that, that would stress me. So always stress is and the outside, okay? Now this is a huge myth, because actually there is no circumstance out there that there isn't someone in the world who wouldn't be fine with it. So let me rephrase that. What do I mean? I mean, maybe the idea of getting up on stage in front of a big group of people and talking about something would stress you out, right? Maybe it would terrify you. However, there's someone else who could do that completely confidently and feel completely fine with it and not be stressed at all. In fact, I'm one of them, right? Didn't used to be. God, it used to terrify me. There's someone else who maybe could walk in the middle of a gunfight and be so confident and so aware and so honed because they've done special forces training or whatever it is, that they don't get stressed at all. And yet take that same person and put them in a situation where they need to be emotionally vulnerable, and that might stress them out. Or vice versa, you know? Someone who's really good at being emotionally vulnerable, but they may not fare so well in the middle of a gunfight. You know, I'm being a bit silly, but you get my point here, right? That it's not the circumstance that stresses you out. It's you, right? It's me and it's you. You are the cause of your stress. I am the cause of my stress. Now, part of that is psychology, you know, so it's the attitude you take to things. Some of it is competence, right? So the person who's put themselves in an emotionally vulnerable position again and again is more likely to be able to handle that without being stressed. The person who's put themselves in a gunfight position again and again is more likely to be able to handle themselves. So competence is a thing. So attitude and psychology is one thing, competence is another thing. But most interestingly, it's also to do with what I referred to in the previous video, which if you haven't seen it, by the way, you've got to catch it, which I referred to as reserve energy. Okay, so reserve energy is something that you get given to you from your parents. They got it from their parents, and you know, who knows where it began. I'm not a religious guy. So it gets passed down by the generation, and it can be higher, it can be low. Now, it can also be used up more quickly during your life, depending on the kind of all sorts of factors that go on, how much stress, how much adversity and challenge you have in your life, how much stress you have, how much mental activity you have, right? It's another big factor. How much mineralization you get. There's lots of factors, and you know, you'll learn about that in great detail. So basically, when you have high levels of this reserve energy, which I also call adaptive energy, when difficult, challenging things come your way, you adapt to them. You don't get stressed, you just adapt, right? And when your level of reserve or adaptive energy is low, the simplest thing can feel completely overwhelming, right? Just the idea of leaving your house, you know, or you know, saying something to someone, or whatever it may be. You know, I'm always amazed at what people become overwhelmed or anxious or stressed about. But then again, I'm amazed at what I used to get overwhelmed and anxious and stressed about. And yes, sometimes I still get amazed at what I get anxious and stressed about. However, what I've noticed is the more that I build up my own adaptive energy, the more that all the kind of psychological roadblocks and all the kind of things that you'd think, you know, oh, they're definitely external, they're definitely out there, don't matter anymore. And what I've observed by working with so many people is that the more they build up their level of adaptive energy, the more easily they can handle whatever life throws at them. And because of that, and because of kind of 5,000 years pretty much of, you know, recorded, documented history of Chinese medicine, which is where I've got this distinction from, indicates to me that this is something that has been used for billions of people over that time. It's not just me. This is a universal distinction, and that's why I know it's true for you too. That if your adaptive energy is high enough, then nothing's going to be able to stress you out, or very little, except for perhaps occasionally if you're in an area that you're really, you know, not competent in, and then you have enough adaptive energy that you adapt to it and you learn, and then it doesn't stress you anymore. No problem, you know, really simple. So what does all this come down to? Well, in the last video you learned that one of the biggest obstacles in order to get to a level of real optimal energy and reducing your stress is being in a victim mindset, you know, rather than a creator mindset. If a victim has a problem, they feel sorry for themselves, or they blame other people, or they go into, I can't do it, or all that kind of stuff. It's always some version of I can't. And if a creator gets into a challenging time, they're like, oh, I need to create a solution. I need to create a better outcome. I need to create a way out of this, right? Really simple. So that's what we talked about last video. And this video, because a lot of people, when they hear that, they're like, oh, but I've set goals before, or I've tried all that new agey stuff, or I've tried all that motivational stuff. I've tried visualizing what I wanted and it just didn't happen. And of course, I hear this objection a lot, and it's a valid one. And that's because there's more to it. If you're constantly living in your head and you're only ever imagining and creating the future, then you're not going to get there either. There is another key piece to the whole puzzle. And it is an absolutely extraordinarily powerful piece when you really get it. And it's called presence. Presence. Now, I don't mean presence as in Father Christmas, Santa Claus. I mean presence as in being right here, right now. Not being in your head. Now, a lot of people get confused, but they're, oh, but didn't you tell me to imagine? Yes. The way it works is really simple. If you're going to be in your head, then focus on what it is that you want to achieve, what outcome you want to create, where you really want to be, and maybe focus on the strategies to get there and planning them, right, and scheduling them and making them happen. But most of the time, you don't want to be planning and you don't want to be visualizing and imagining, you want to be doing. And you want to be being, and that relates to being present. And while thinking and imagining relate to the head, being and just being present and engaging with life and doing things relates to the gut. In fact, what Chinese medicine and Taoist medicine has known for thousands of years, and what Western science has discovered really only in the last couple of decades, is that we actually have a second brain, and it's in here, it's in our gut, and it is. And it actually has neurons, just like our other brain. You know, when people say they have a gut instinct, or when they just know something, or they say that, and I'm not talking about that, the kind of maybe kind of thing. Like, I'm talking about when you just know, when you have that absolute certainty, and you're always right, it always pays off. I'm talking about that part of you, right? That part of you relates to presence. And the more present you are, the more that you are right here, right now, the more you're doing what you're doing. And I think you can feel right now, I'm being present with you, right? Even though this is a video, I'm not off in my head imagining something else, or thinking about what I should say, or how I look, or blah, blah, blah. I'm just here with you right now. Well, something I've discovered by working with thousands of people who are, really depleted in energy, is that they are all extremely unpresent. As well as being in our I can't kind of mentality is one of the most common things. And what I found by also working with and modeling and having the pleasure of being with people who are exceptional and who are incredibly high in energy and who are incredibly high in confidence and can handle whatever life throws at them, they are always incredibly present. Okay? It's a universal rule. Now, you may have heard all this stuff about, oh no, it's good to be present before. However, I'm going to show you right now a practical step to get there. Okay? And this is something that if you practice it, I promise you, it can completely transform the quality of your life. The challenge with stress is that about 98% of it, not only is it related to our energy levels, but it's 98% of our stress in actual everyday life is right here. It's not in the world around us. And really, it's not even in anything to do with us. It's just in our head. It's in our imagination. We're stressed about something that hasn't even happened yet. Or we're stressed about something that probably never will happen. Or we're stressed about something that happened in the past that we can't do anything about. Now, what do all these things have in common? They're all you living in your head, right? So, the key to reducing stress, as well as to get energy, because they both go hand in hand. That's why I didn't just pick two random things. They go hand in hand. The first thing you want to learn is to breathe and be present. Okay? And this is how this works. Imagine that you are in the middle of a conversation with someone and you're starting to feel that stress bubble up. What's the first thing you're going to do? If you're a smoker, it might be reach for a cigarette. If you're an overeater, it might be reach for some food. If you're someone who doesn't deal with emotions very well, it might be to go into your head and not listen. Instead, what I encourage you to do is the opposite of all of those. I encourage you to be more present. And how do you actually do that though? And what does present mean? Well, I'll cover that when we talk about the how to do it. Okay? Okay, so the benefits are obvious, you know, much more energy, much less stress. How do we do it? Very, very simple. Every time you catch yourself getting stressed, you just realize it and you go for whatever normal coping strategy you use. Instead, do this. Take a deep, really deep breath in, into your belly, and then stop and become aware of the world around you. Become aware of what you can actually see in front of you right now, not the pictures in your head. Become aware of what you can actually hear right now, not the you talking to yourself in your head, right? The sounds out there. Become aware of how you actually feel in your body, okay? Become aware of any smells that might be going on. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about becoming aware of the world out there. So you stop. And you can do this while you're driving, you can do this while you're in the middle of a conversation with someone, you can do this at any time. Just stop whatever thing you're doing, stop, take a deep breath in, and you take it into your belly, right? And what does that mean? It means that when you breathe in, your belly goes out, and when you breathe out, your belly goes in. And I'll do this from the side as well. When you breathe in, your belly goes out, and when you breathe out, your belly goes in. So you stop, take a breath in, become present, become aware, and then breathe out slowly while the belly goes in. Now, just that one simple technique is extraordinarily valuable because it's really easy to get overloaded with all these different things, right? And it's something that I highly encourage you to take out into the world. If you're not sure about how to do that breathing thing, then I'm sure that you are high in stress and low in energy. No, all kidding aside, most people who are stressed breathe in to their chest. So when they breathe in, their chest goes up. And when they breathe out, their chest goes down. And that's if they're breathing deep. Most people don't breathe deep at all. They're just very shallowly, barely breathing in and out of the chest. Right? That's not good. That doesn't help you have energy. That doesn't help you be present. And that does guarantee you're going to go more and more into the victim. That thing of I can't. Okay? So what we need to do is you need to become aware of your breath. Okay? Become aware of your breath. And then breathe in into your belly. Stop. Just become aware of the world around you. Become aware, even if it's the angry face shouting at you or the driver cutting you up or whatever it is, just become aware. Don't go into your head like, who does he think he is? Blah, blah, blah. Just become aware of what's actually going on right now and then slowly breathe out through the nose. So breathe in through the mouth, breathe in through the nose, let the belly go out, become aware, and breathe out through the nose very slowly. Just that, as a habit, repeated whenever you feel anywhere near the possibility of getting stressed or getting low in energy. It could just be, oh, you're at work and you're on the phone, you're tapping on, oh God, you're more and more slouched, probably in your chest, more and more collapsed, and you're getting more and more stressed, and then just stop. Straighten up, take a deep breath in, become aware, and then breathe out slowly. Absolutely miraculous. Now, I really want you to practice this, okay? Really try it, just until you watch the next video, okay? I'm not saying, oh, you have to do this for the rest of your life. Just try it. Try during all those times. If you just can't remember to do it in the heat of the home moment, another great thing to do, which I've done before, is just like set your alarm to go off every hour. And every hour when it goes off, beep, 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 you just remember, okay, stop, breathe in, become aware, and then breathe out slowly. And that's it. Can you repeat it? Absolutely. You know, do it as often as you can. Can you do more than one in a row? Absolutely. Do as many as you want. You know, do as many as you have time for. If you're unfamiliar with that breathing process, then one way you can do it is to start off by just getting used to it first. Breathe out and push your belly in with your arms. Right. So breathe out, and then when you breathe in, you just allow it to balloon out. So breathe out and push it in. And breathe in and allow it to go out. So really get a hand on that. Practice that a little bit if you need to. As soon as you've got the hang of it, put it into practice in your everyday life. Become more present, become more here and more now. And just that is probably going to help you to halve your stress, right? And your energy is going to slowly be able to improve as a result of that. Of course, that's not the only thing. On the next video, we're going to learn about those 7 pillars that I talk about, which absolutely guarantee success. But we need to do the training we've done so far first. We needed to get you to imagine and visualize the life that really is where you want to be, because you realize you're only in the second act. You're not there yet. You know, you're not just, you know, your life, you started good and then it just collapsed. That's not how it works. You have the adversity and then you overcome and do better than before. That's the way it works. So we had to do that in the first video. In the second video, what we've done is we've shown you exactly how to become present at any time. Just incredibly simple, incredibly easy. Also helps to energize your whole body, because you're flooding it with oxygen and then you're releasing the carbon dioxide really slowly. And in the next session, we're going to go through those 7 pillars, training on each, and I'm going to answer the 10 most frequently asked questions that I get about energy. So before the next video, I would like you to practice that. I want you to try it, and I want you to leave any questions, any comments. I want you to get involved. I want you to share your experience. I want you to share it with other people. So just comment, question below, do the Facebook like thing so that other people get to know about it really simply and really easily, and share the good news. It is possible to reduce your stress. It is possible to not be a victim and to feel good about life and what's possible. It's possible to be present. It's possible to energize yourself. It's possible to reduce your stress. And it's so simple and so easy. And then we're going to look at all the more advanced stuff in the next video. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to comment. Don't forget to ask me any questions in this forum, because I don't want to answer the same question 1,000 times. I want to answer it once. So if you ask me publicly, I really appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you in training video number 3, coming soon.